We do have a quorum, and I'll call the April the 23rd, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. I asked everyone to please stand. We have Pastor Don Sunshine here from Whitfield First Church of God to do our invocation, and remain standing for the pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we come before you humble this morning, asking for wisdom from you, asking for your mercy upon us. God, we pray that you would guide and direct every decision, every thought, every word that is spoken here today, that our community may be used for the glory and the honor and the upbuilding of your kingdom. And these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning. We have some sports resolutions to present, but I don't see any of the participants to present them to. So we will go ahead and I entertain a motion to adopt
Cameron Woolridge.
Resolution 2019-09, Cameron Woodridge, state championship.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Next is Jacob Turpin from Fort Chisholm Wrestling Team State Championship. Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Next is Ethan Martin from Royal Retreat High School Wrestling. Is it also a state championship?
Fourth state championship.
Fourth state championship.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So adopted, and when we get a hold of them and they get here, we'll present their resolutions to them. We go into citizens' time. Kimberly Ring. Morning, Miss Ring.
Good morning, sir. Members of the board, my name is Kimberly Ring, and I am a voting constituent in the East Whitfield District. I was encouraged by the community and members of the Board of Supervisors here today to share my recent experiences with you concerning the Apex Authority. I represent Titans of the Cage Mixed Martial Arts, which recently held an event at the Apex Center on April the 13th. I entered into a contract on December the 19th with SMG, a management firm hired by the Apex Center. The contract outlined my cost for the use of the facility, including any additional costs that would be incurred during the course of my event. My experience in dealing with the Apex Authority following the event was not a positive experience. In fact, I was treated horribly. Following the event, the Apex Authority representatives demanded that I return to the facility at 12:15 a.m. to close out the evening. I had no idea what business they wanted to conduct with me at this hour, as I had already paid my rental fee. After waiting for them to finish with concession vendors, they asked me to enter their office and told me I needed to pay ticket taxes that evening. I informed them that that did not align with what Faye Barker at the Commissioner of the Revenue's office had instructed me to do. Ticket taxes are due the 20th day of the month following the event. The president of the authority then proceeded to put a handwritten statement of charges in front of me. Included on this statement were charges that was not listed in my agreement. I informed them that I disputed the charges, and I was told all promotions pay the charges and ticket taxes immediately following the event. I told them I was disputing the charges that was not listed in our agreement. I informed them that I would have our attorney, Alex Gomez, review their charges on Monday. I assured them that I would pay whatever he advised me that I was obligated to pay under our agreement. The president of the Apex Authority then says to me, "Your days of getting a free lunch or a cheap lunch around here are over." I was totally offended. I was even more offended the following Tuesday when a representative of the Apex community, Apex Center, their Apex Authority, was caught on video at a local convenience store telling the cashiers that I ran out of the building, sticking them with unpaid fees. Never once did I ask for a cheap lunch from the Apex Center. In fact, I wanted to be a supporter. Titans of the Cage events are unique compared to other events, as entire teams, coaches, supporters travel into Wythe County to watch these contests. Persons will rarely travel for a circus, as most will wait for the circus to come to their own hometown. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Titans of the Cage and our free lunch. In addition to the rental fee we paid to the center, I paid $2,094 in ticket taxes to the Commissioner of the Revenue. Our event brought teammates, fans from the following places: North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, Florida, Ohio, Maryland, Virginia Beach, Richmond, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Kentucky. Titans of the Cage and our supporters purchased a total of 91 rooms in Wythe County. Italian Garden hosted 120 fans for the Friday night weigh-in event, and Denny's was standing room only following the event. On average, each of the out-of-town guests and contestants ate 4 meals during their stay in Wythe County for a total of 253 meals. These guests in our county also purchased gas and items at retail stores. The additional fees that the Apex Center are trying to charge promoters are excessive. I do not know what the process is for companies to be awarded contracts with the Apex Center, but the Apex Authority is not making good deals and simply passing these excessive costs to promoters. They need to be good stewards of not only the taxpayers' money, but also the promoters' money as well. I assure you that if promoters have to pay or charge high ticket prices to cover these excessive costs, people in Wythe County will not be able to afford or simply will not pay these ticket prices to attend events. In addition, several times throughout the evening, the services rendered were substandard. The Apex Center claimed cleaning services for my event started at 2 p.m. Yet one of our child spectators threw up in the bleachers, and the cleaning staff told his mothers they didn't clean until after the event was over, yet I was charged from 2 p.m. When she said she couldn't just leave it in the bleachers, they handed her a roll of paper towels and a bottle of Windex. I urge the Board of Supervisors to investigate the Apex procedures for hiring contractors and encourage a fair bidding process. The Apex Authority should strive to be hospitable and an attraction option for promoters because we are the heartbeat of that center. Without us, they don't exist. If the Apex Authority treats out-of-town promoters in the same way that I was treated, I assure you it is embarrassment to Wythe County. Most troublesome to me as a Wythe County taxpayer is if the Apex Authority is allowed to charge promoters the fees that they have told me they will be charging in the future, that would exceed $5,000 for a day's use of that facility. I fear that the center will not have anybody to rent the facility. I fear that the taxpayers will have to take on that financial burden. I was told that the Berglund Center receives $5,000 a day. The truth of the matter is the Apex Center is not the Berglund Center, and this is not Roanoke, Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ring.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a
Yes.
quick comment?
Uh-huh.
Ms. Ring is very nice, and she didn't say half of her experience up here. And I do. And, well, it's okay, but what I wanted to say, even after her not-so-great experience, she still wants to use the facility. She still has fights, how many times a year?
4 times a year.
So I hope that we can work with the authority and come to some type of agreement so we can still have her business.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And Ms. Ring, I did speak with the chairman, Mr. Miller, Saturday night, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the payment of invoice. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any invoice any board member would like to pull out or discuss? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting, April the 9th, 2019. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any corrections or changes need to be made to the minutes? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item is old business, Apex construction update. Mr. Baum?
Good morning.
Morning.
Things seem to be moving along. We have, in the last couple of weeks, awarded the purchase order for the river stone that goes around the flower beds on the building to a home and commercial cleaning and landscaping, and that was awarded for $2,250. So we got a pretty good price on that. on the bids that we received, so should be starting that work soon. I called them yesterday, they haven't called me back yet, but they've been presented the purchase order, so I expect them to be out there doing that work shortly. We have a couple of bids in on the Ready Mix Road fencing right now, and I talked to Mr. Bear about that yesterday, and he gave me some guidance. I won't mention it yet because we haven't issued the purchase order, but we're ready to issue a purchase order for the rail fence along the Ready Mix Road. The Flying J fence line, I have one bid in right now, and I have a price for all new materials versus using the county materials, and discussing it with Mr. Bear yesterday. It looks like the price is so close, it probably, our opinion was it might be most advantageous just to go with the new material out there. It's that close, and we'll discuss that further. I hope to get another bid so we can comply with the procurement rules, but right now that looks like the direction we're going. We have some concept designs on the ramps on the inside for the new gates and the handicap ramp and all those things that need to be inside the arena, but we haven't got a second bid on that yet. But we're in discussions with the company that did the rails on the arena floor, so everything will match. So we're working through that. I do have a price for the gates for the wheelchair lifts. That was one of the options, instead of having ramps with wheelchair lifts, so we're kind of in position to, if we make a decision to use wheelchair lifts, then I have a proposal to put the gating that we would need next to the lift. Fire hoods, I have two bids on that right now. I have the one by the original contractor, RGM, and then I have another one from FSP Contractors, and we'll make a decision on that in another day or so. Those bids are fairly close, so we're ready to move ahead with that. As far as stormwater is concerned, we had our review comments back from the DEQ. They seem to have focused on pond number 4, the lower pond, on some routing, and we have had our discussion with Lane Group yesterday on some of the comments that came back that were precipitated from the original SWIP. And one of the surprises we got was we were not informed that we did not have as much nutrient credit as we thought we did, which impacts the design and might impact the design on pond 4 for the nutrient uptakes. So we're working with Mr. Lane, both Mr. Lanes, and we will have some more progress on that. I've gone through the comments, addressed them, done some design changes and answered. I plan on taking that to DEQ in another day or two. So the physical parameters that they wanted questions for, I hopefully will have taken care of. But the thing that we are refocusing on is, will Pond 4 meet the requirements now that we need more nutrient uptake? And that would mean additional conservation area above the 4 acres we thought we would have to set aside before. So working through those issues sometimes takes a little bit of time with DEQ, but we're pushing ahead. Ultimately, we want to get the upper area gravelled, but we'll go through the stormwater process and make it all happen.
So Bill, how about, I know half the parking lot is split. Half goes to the front side, half goes to the back side.
Yeah.
Does any on the front side, the half that goes to the front?
DEQ made no comments on my analysis on the Pond 1 impact. They were focusing on number 4. Of course, that's linked to the nutrient credits that we were not informed of properly from the original submittal. The comment was it didn't impact the overall design because it was a little bit of a positive credit, so we just weren't told. So we were forging
Well, I
ahead.
mean, who was it told? I mean, did
DEQ
Lane Q or DEQ just didn't tell us?
I think DEQ didn't tell the Lane Group. They just let it go because it passed just enough. And then the impact of that is we're trying to make a change down the road, and we have to come up with additional credits. When we didn't have as many in the bank, so to speak, as we thought we did to be able to make the changes. So, and they want us to do all the spreadsheets again, and that's why we're talking to the Lane Group. We'll go back to their original analysis on the VRRM spreadsheets and see what we can work out. And Mr. Lane agreed yesterday to work with us on that. So,
Is there any way we can pave the back half of the parking lot while we're doing can you check with DEQ on that?
I'll ask the question, but I think since he wants all the spreadsheets redone, the way the project was done, half the project was done on a set of spreadsheets with sub-areas. That was the lower half. The other half of the project was done on spreadsheets with sub-areas, and then they took the credit from one and the deficit on the other and added them together and said, you're just this much above good. I think, to answer your question, he probably won't because he's already asked us to redo all the spreadsheets to see what the net effect is, but I'll ask the question.
Okay. How about I got one more. How about our already, we've approved and and got contract with Ready Mix Road in the lower parking lot. I mean, what's up with
Ready Mix
that?
Road, the King is supposed to be out there today to start the work. We have worked through the issues with the drop inlet with the highway department. We're pushing the drop inlet to the property line on the right of way, and that gave us just enough cover to make the structure work, and that structure has been ordered by the contractor, and he's supposed to be out there this morning starting to do the layout and start the work. Ready Mix Road, Mr. Melton told me yesterday they pretty much got it graded. He still needs to do some compaction, and then once he tells me he's ready, we'll order up F&R, which is our independent tester to do the compaction tests. And Ms. Whitney at Clico says they're ready to fall in behind RGM to put the gravel and paving down.
Mr. Hale?
Bill, that's the same thing you told us 2 weeks ago, exactly word for word.
Yep.
Now, with this spreadsheet, what impact is that gonna have on the lower parking lot?
It should have none. The lower parking lot was already in the approved SWIP as a gravelled area. It was the upper lot that was, said grass and not gravel. The lower lot is already approved in the plan as to be gravel. So we should be able to move ahead with that.
Okay, we need the parking lot, as you know. So what is holding up, other than compaction? This is what we talked about 2 weeks ago. And there was some discussion with you about tweaking the curve line to match up with the next phase of the road building for the developmental lots.
Yep,
Has that been done, and does the contractor understand what they gotta do?
they did. I staked out the center line and put some offset stakes out there, and with the amount of fill they've got left to work with, Bob told me they might need to turn the curve in a little bit more to make it work, but we'll be okay. And he's finishing that up. Truthfully, you know, they weren't out there every day working on it, and that was his schedule.
Well, when we talk about a curve and turn it a little bit, is it gonna affect the radius of that curve to where it's a hindrance to when this becomes a through road someday?
It shouldn't. The degree of curvature should be adequate. They're not gonna have to shift the center line that much. And it's just because he doesn't have quite enough fill on the right-hand side when you go around the curve. He's just gonna pull it in a little bit, and there's plenty of area there to work with. So he thinks he has to adjust it a little bit, but I've already staked it. He's close. I don't think it's gonna make a big difference. And that will follow on, and I believe H&P has already started the coordination process with them on the phase two. They kind of gone out there and they've seen where the cul-de-sac is that they have to tie into, and are starting that part of the coordination also.
Is there any grading work in Selco's contract?
No, I mean,
They don't have any dirt to work with, do they?
right, they're supposed to fall in on, I always call it the notch, you know, RGN's supposed to put the notch in there like you do on a regular road, and Clico's supposed to come in and put the gravel in and do the finished grading and put the asphalt on. So, it should be ready, it's supposed to be ready by RGM to receive Clico's work.
Anybody else got any questions? Stephen, can you call RGM, and tell them we need this work done?
Yeah, I was gonna ask the Apex Authority if we could meet Friday morning, to go over some of these proposals that have come in, discuss where we are, and, I would also entertain, RGM, seeing if they could be present to go over the status at the same time.
I mean, we were down there, me and you were down there 3 weeks ago, and they told me in 3 days they would have it done.
Yep, they did.
So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn.
You're welcome.
Mr. Byers, anything else under old business?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything yet.
Reports, treasurer report, Ms. Gwen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Missed you all last month. Had a continuing ed session that day, so just scheduling conflict, but things happen, so. Okay, so in your board packet, you have the March financial report. And in the consolidated account, we have a balance of $68,154,779. Of that amount, the balance that is in the general fund is $43,772,464. So, we've managed to stay kind of at a high amount the last few months, but, I know for my department and other departments as well, we're gonna start utilizing our budget money. We're getting down to the end of the year, so we'll start seeing depletions in all of our budgets at this point. So, kind of moving on to other things. Well, let me back up. Does anybody have any questions on the financial statement first before I continue on? Joe? Brian? Don't disappoint me today.
I'd like for you to endeavor to get bigger print for older people.
Well, I will, actually, I'll pass that along to the finance director, because he actually pulls all of this information and produces the report through Lotus. But, I think we all kind of feel that way with it.
Look
It
how
is
much
hard
empty
to.
page we got.
Oh, yours is printed weird.
This is, that's not from,
I'll say, that looks like a
that's
Tyler
that's a
report
Tyler
that
Looks like to
might
me
be
she's
something
trying
that
to
someone
save
else has
ink.
sent to you. And it looks like
That's not
it's,
her report, yeah,
Oh,
that's
no.
for later.
yeah, it looks like it's on a vertical printout that, horizontal would have,
Does
or
that mean we're
landscape
not
would have been
supposed to be able
easier
to
to
read
have read.
this?
I'm gonna blame that one on Mr. Bayer, so I'll let you take that up with him later. Okay, as far as tax collections, through the end of the day Thursday, overall, with all of our tax categories, we're averaging at 95.6% of our collections of what we've billed. Of course, the numbers you see on your financial report is what's budgeted as far as the line amounts and the percentages there. But what we have billed out, we're averaging almost 96% for the 2018 year. So I'm very pleased with that, that number. We are still getting a lot of tax money in right now. Through the 15th was very busy because there is the perception taxes are due April 15th. So we were very busy that day. We'll have more to come in toward the end of the month. I have coordinated with Mr. Southers to do the upload to DMV for our DMV stops in early May. Pardon me. So we'll be getting those on. Hopefully, we'll have better success on the automatic upload this year than we had last year, because we ended up placing about 2,500 stops manually, and that is very time consuming. It took one of my folks pretty much a year to get all of those on, which she had converted to a part-time employee, so I was utilizing her for that on her days that she was working. But we've had very good success with that. Those of you on the budget committee, and even you all as the full board, you're gonna see a request coming through to me. My line item for professional services was $28,000 for this year. We've already paid all of that out to DMV for the stops that we've released, and I do not have enough budget money going into the next few months, because actually accounts payable is holding an invoice right now that they couldn't pay because I'm over budget. So I'll be sending a request to Mr. Bayer to try to cover me for the next couple of months. But when our invoices are coming in from DMV and they're $3,000 and $4,000 a month, and they get $25 per stop, that tells you the number of stops we're releasing on a monthly basis. So we've been very busy with that. A lot of folks we are putting into payment plans. Many are following through, many are not. So we're replacing the stops on them, and if we don't already have a judgment, they're on our list to obtain a warrant and debt and eventually a judgment on. So.
How long does it take? I mean, how long does it stop? Is it in effect?
It stays on them. Now, some will drop off because the folks will let the tags go dead on a vehicle and they don't replace it with another vehicle. DMV changed their legislation on July 1. Used to, if you had a hold on you, had a stop on you, and you purchased a new vehicle, that stop did not carry over to that new vehicle. It does now. And the owner has 90 days to resolve their tax issues to get that hold released. If they have a hold and they get to DMV, DMV will grant them a 30-day, like a 30-day grace period to get tax issues resolved, and then they'll renew their tags for the full year, 2 years, whatever they're looking at doing. But most people on average only renew their tags for a year at a time. So, it may take us a year to catch someone, but we eventually end up catching them. And then it does what we call spider webs out, because if you co-own a vehicle with someone and that person co-owns with someone else, that technically third person ends up with a freeze on their tags as well, because we have a hold on this initial person, and it's the fact that everybody co-owns. So never co-own with anybody, okay? You're better off if you don't. But they stay on, like I said, some drop off because people just, they call us, we tell them what they owe in taxes, and we have people that will admit to us that, I just didn't renew the tags on my car because I couldn't afford to come in and pay you all the $1,000 in taxes, so I just get somebody to drive me around. I mean,
Lori, talking about the DMV stops, of course, the General Assembly in their infinite wisdom, and I say that sarcastically, decided to quit suspending driver's license as of July 1st for non-payment of fines. How do you think that's going to affect the DMV stops?
At this point, and I'm assuming you're referencing what we're currently doing with the stops, is what you're, I don't know that it's going to, that it will really affect those that much. The thing is probably going to be the same people that have license suspended for court probably do owe us taxes, and we have holds on them as well. My worst fear in thinking forward with it and going back to their infinite wisdom is that they'll end up changing that program as well, because the stop program of us not being able to put holds on people like we do.
Well, I just wonder, once word spreads, people want to get the DMV stops off their vehicle now so they can renew their tags, so they don't get a ticket, so they don't have to pay a fine, if they don't have money to pay.
It just
Or
filters
they
down
get their
its
driver's
backwards.
license suspended.
Yeah.
Now there's, it looks to me like it's really gonna hamper the DMV stop program if
Yeah.
they don't come back next year and say,
Right. And we do have situations where we have folks that, they go to the local DMV and they just automatically say, well, you owe with county taxes. They'll come to us and we're not showing a hold, so we research in DMV and it's another locality, which becomes a DMV issue because they didn't look into it enough. But a lot of times insurance companies will have holds on people as well that they can't renew. So they come in and they square everything away with us, and then they go back to DMV and they call back and say, I came in and paid, you didn't release my hold. When we get to looking, of course, we can't see those. If it's a hold that we can't see that's placed by us or another locality, that tells us more or less it's insurance or other reasons. So you get a lot of folks that end up like that, which probably comes back to the same deal, the court fines that you're referring to, because they're not gonna lose their licenses. All they're gonna do is find another vehicle to drive. They're gonna borrow grandma or grandpa's car and drive it till the wheels fall off because, they've give them some lame excuse so they can drive their car. And, but it's, the stop program's a very good program for us, just the same as I feel like for court, the suspension of driver's license was, a very good, collection method there. But, we're trying to explore some other things and, try to locate a lot of these people that, I hope this next year get more into, set off debt collection through the Department of Taxation. Hopefully, we get utility billing settled. I can work with Mr. Southers on trying to get that set up for an automatic upload. But, I want to start taking their tax returns just because if that's the only way we're going to get our money, then that's what we're going to have to do. We're here to do a job, and it's not fair to penalize us if you all have to increase tax rates because the next 5 people don't pay. So it's kind of a never-ending cycle. It really is. So, but that's all I have on the business standpoint. Anybody have anything?
Anybody got any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wood.
And I'll give you one thing on a personal note. I do intend to seek re-election this fall. I have enjoyed serving the citizens of Witt County and working with you all. So hopefully all that'll go well, and we'll be back here with you in January. Okay. You all have a good day. Thank you.
I do have a question, Lori, before you leave. Ms. Rink brought up this thing about the tax.
The admissions tax.
I'm gonna ask real soon that we revisit that thing about paying at the closeout. I think the county attorney tells us we can't have 2 rules in the ordinance. But if we let these promoters leave town, we're never gonna get that tax, because it's very hard to collect across state lines. Most of these promoters are out of state. It's really unique that we have a in-county promoter, or even an in-state promoter. So I think we got an error in our ordinance in that give them that length of time, using some of the ones that have been here without naming one. They could be 5 states away, and it's a Class 1 misdemeanor. We're never gonna get those people back to pay those taxes. And that's a significant tax. And anybody that uses that place and charges admission should pay their taxes. But if these transient promoters, and that's big bucks, so
Yeah, it
we
is.
might need y'all's input. Hopefully, Mr. Bear can get that to the Finance Committee, and we can fix that problem as I see it
I would
with the
assume,
ordinance.
I would assume on that, the due date of the 20th was set to probably coincide like with our lodging tax and our meals tax.
Yeah, it
because
was a
they're due
convenient
the 20th
thing.
of the following month. Unfortunately, I have not read that ordinance because it's administered by the Commissioner's Office, so I haven't really dove into it to get into the detail, but I think at first there seemed to be confusion as to whether that individual promoter had to pay that money to the county, or if they paid it to, I guess, the Apex Authority, and then Apex Authority remitted it. And there's been the same situation with meals tax as well. So I think it's just kind of getting our footing on that and figuring out how all that needs to be handled, because at first, I think the concessions people, it was their understanding that they were to pay the money to, I guess, the Apex Authority. And then all of a sudden, we got this flood of meals tax forms in, and then they had been informed, no, they were to remit that directly to us. So I think some of it's just defining it
there was
more, that it gets out of
confusion
that great
because
confusion.
There was confusion because we had an out-of-state person here that was spouting things that he wasn't fully equipped to talk about, and was given misinformation. But I'm guilty of saying those taxes on meals tax need to make sure that they're payable to the county and not to the town, because most of the people already had a town form, which meant the county wasn't gonna be getting any money, and this has happened across the state. Sometimes by just what your mailing address is, which is, this is a unique thing that we gotta make sure that we collect those taxes. And I'm sorry that there was a disruption of somebody giving directions that didn't know what they were doing.
Well,
but-
things happen, and, you know, we all, when new things occur, we all have to just work through it and try to get it all straightened out. But I think maybe, you know, like I said, there was confusion there on all of that. So
Well,
I
my
think that may
concern
be
is
what some of that is just
Our concern,
defining
the
more
money's
of.
getting to you now.
It's just defining more of, you know, who's to pay whom, and, you know, when it's to be remitted and things like that. I think that's probably a detail that just kind of needs to be,
Mr.
Yeah.
Barry, you got a
get
comment?
Yeah,
a better
the,
understanding on.
That one option is to look at trying to do that in place. There obviously was some miscommunication, and the good news is now with the Apex Authority having staff on hand and doing their own contracts, they can do it. But the ideal situation would be what was written in some of the other contracts, for that exact reason you're talking about. The Apex Authority write in their contract that emissions tax is paid up and closed out at the end of events or in the process, and then the Apex Authority remits that to the county immediately. And that's how they had done with several events. And it's my understanding, based on what I've heard on this issue, the individuals that were talking to Ms. Ring thought the contract was written that way, and was trying to have her pay the same emissions tax like everyone else was. And it was not in her contract. She was correct, it was not in her contract for emergency service. But on the on the emissions tax, we can look at it amending the ordinance and the process, or we can work with them, which may be easier, to make certain their contracts include that language so that we definitely are getting that payment, because I understand your concern, Mr. Hale, that a traveling group passing through, you may have a hard time collecting from it in the future.
Well, there's a very old ancient proverb, don't turn down cash. That's a good policy.
Unless the ink's still wet. Unless the ink is still wet.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn.
Thank you.
I see the sheriff's not here, but Chief, you have anything? Okay. Insurance Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'll report on that, because we have several board members and non-board members and all on that. Basically, the insurance committee met and reviewed the local choice renewal options, the plan year 2019 and 20. We did see a small deduction this year on our health insurance rates, which is obviously not the norm. And recommendation was to continue with the local choice and the rate schedule, which is shown on the attached page 68, is the same rate schedule that has been used by the county and the school system both. So we need action just to renew with the local choice for the next plan year.
Entertain a motion to accept the Insurance Committee's recommendation to renew for local choice.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Stephen, what was we did change the contribution on
Yeah,
the family plan.
The single, the monthly contribution went up for what we were offering on the single plus one. Trying to remember the number here. You remember, Ms. Collins, was $180 on the family plan, and
It says here single plus one for the 500 is $644. What was
yeah,
it
it was
before?
a decrease on that. I do not have that. You pulled it up, Ms. Collins, last year's number. Oh, okay.
And that's fine, I just wanted,
Yeah,
going back to, my argument about, trying to take care of some of these employee salaries this year, we did bring up the county's contribution, so it'll help some of the folks on the family plan. That was,
We absorbed the increase. The county did. Any other comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Budget Committee report. First item.
The Budget Committee met on April 17, 2019, and recommends the following. First item is transferring $2,317 from jail processing inmate booking fees to police activity fund.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Doesn't need a second. Any questions, comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
Next item is declaring the following vehicle surplus. The committee recommends reviewing local county uses for the pickup truck before releasing it to enterprise. A 2014 Ford Super Cab 4x4, a 2014 Ford Taurus, and a 2015 Ford Taurus.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other discussion or questions? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
transferring $175.30 from the Commonwealth Attorney's Asset Forfeiture Account to 2201-458060. This transfer is for the sponsorship of the Law Enforcement Domestic Violence Seminar to be held in Whitfield on June 17th, 2019.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Next item was donated $100 to Georgia High School Distributive Education Club to assist with travel to the International Career Development Conference.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions or discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item?
Next item is approval of drawing down $2,000 of the Extension Office's 2018-19 budgeted funds, which will be utilized for student 4-H travel expenses this summer.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any comments or questions? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Last item?
Last item is amending and appropriating $92,978 to the Grouse Ridge Road Revenue Sharing Project, account 4100-470062.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Did they have the meeting, and everybody agreed to?
Meeting tonight at 6 p.m.
Tonight at 6 p.m. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Anything else from the Budget Committee?
That's all.
County Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on there is just the list of the roads from the 6-year plan discussion that we discussed at the last meeting with Mr. Russell being here. The public hearing is set for the May meeting, May 28th, I believe is the date we set that for, at 7 p.m. Obviously, you've got 6 roads here, which total more mileage than the 2 miles roughly that we can put on the plan. VDOT will need some guidance whether to, if you want to wait until after the public hearing, and then prioritize these in your order based on your public hearing comments for them to put on the 6-year plan.
I think we'll wait, because I thought he said that once the spring haul thing was done and figured in the major rim, there might be enough money to do all of them.
There could be some additional money to add to it, that is correct.
Right, so let's wait till we know how much money we're dealing with before we make that decision.
Do we ever list the ones that didn't make it?
Yeah, it's on there, I think.
Well, this is just the ones that did meet the rural rustic guidelines. And Riverview was the last one that was requested and was added, but the note was mentioned that that would require some fence relocation by the owners in order to be eligible to be added. So,
I think Lori's road was the one that didn't make it.
I believe that may be correct.
Which one?
Porter Road.
Porter Road. I'll follow up with him on that and confirm it did not meet rural rustic standards.
Ford Branch could use some attention too.
The next item is just the Fort Cheswell Pump Station Generator Grant. You all approved the grant project at this last meeting. Mr. Vaughn's ready to get moving on the accounts on this, and the money needs to be amended and appropriated, so I would request the board to approve amending and appropriating $115,000 for the VDM generator grant.
Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I read that breakdown. Can you explain to me why it costs that much money to accept a grant?
It's not costing us any money to accept the grant.
Oh, you're just,
We've got to put it in the budget. It's not in the budget. So we're
okay,
just
so
putting it in the
we're
budget.
not adding this amount of money with, okay.
No. this is
I
just-
actually read the package and was more confused than before I read it.
No, this was just showing you what is out there, that was requested. And when we accepted the grant, we did not include the note to amend and appropriate it into the budget.
Do we have any idea when it'll be online, Mr. Vaughn?
Well, we have like I said right there, the AD Services Design Proposal, so we accept that in the next few days. Design probably 2-3 weeks, and we have to advertise for procurement, I would say 4 months if we get the quickest if things flow correctly in the procurement process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bott?
Aye.
All right,
And the chair votes aye.
The second item on that is, as Bill mentioned, we did put out, because is one of Mr. Hale's questions when he came in, can we meet all the guidelines, because we had a year time frame to get everything done. We had to procure engineering services off of this. We put out a request for proposal for engineering services. We only received one back, and that is from Pete and Bortz for engineering services.
let me ask you a question about that, Mr.
Yes.
Why did we not use one of the engineers that's on a service contract?
Because this was under the grant, and we had to go out and show the procurement for this for the grant purposes. So we did so quickly. We have got that in. My recommendation would be for you all to authorize staff to go ahead and enter into the contract with Pete and Bortz so we can start this project and not wait another 2 weeks for you all to approve that contract.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
The chair votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the last thing is just the VRS actuarial value reports. I just put this in here for informational purposes. But a lot of reading on it. But the general information goes through our current status of where we stand. The part that is on page 98 of the package, table 5, just shows their 5-year projection contribution, which is not establishing it in stone, but it does show what our rates are expected to be. And the good news is it does show decreasing values for our contribution rate. Obviously, the rate will be subject to what the General Assembly approves every biennium in the process. But it does show improving rates, dropping from 8.55% down to 7.14%. That is for informational purposes only. Mr. Grant will obtain this information and have it for our actuarials that do the OPEB valuations and all that for the county. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all that I have on the county administrative report.
County Attorney's report. Mr. Farley?
I don't have anything to report at this time.
Okay, Board of Supervisors, District 1, Blacklick, Mr. Vaught.
Nothing at this time.
District 2, West Whiffle. Mr.
Nothing at this time.
District 3, East Whiffle.
Nothing at this time.
District 4, Fort Chiswell.
Nothing at this time.
District 5, Lead Mines, Mr. McRoberts.
yeah, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Russell. He finally fixed that road over there, Rextown Road. That saved me about 10 calls every week. Thank you.
District 6, People.
Since Lloyd brought it up, can you let VDOT know that Ward Branch Road evidently needs scraping and gravel? Any other roads out that way, Lloyd?
It always needs it after it rains.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was, I had been asked about where we're at on water across from the old Reed Creek Mill.
Nothing currently in the plans on anything on it. We looked a little bit at the numbers, and the creek crossing was really expensive on that, to do so.
Can't we just pump it in one side of the creek and they can take it out the other side of the creek?
It would be ideal to maybe work with the town on, well, they run a little bit out Barrett Mill Road on the, west side of that, as the town would loop all the way back around to Barrett Mill Road right there at the Reed Creek Mill, and serve all of that area.
How far do they come back from 21 through there? I don't-
Maybe 100 yards or so.
Yeah, it's a
Not very
long,
far.
that's a long ways
Yeah.
through there.
I know people in that area have asked for water repeatedly.
I have firsthand knowledge. I did live in that area at one time, and the water's not very, I mean, they have to have systems on their wells down there to either a UV system or a chlorinating system on their wells for the bacteria in the water down there. And
So have we talked to the town about it, or can we talk to the town about it?
I'll talk to the town about it some more,
Okay.
and see
I
where
just-
they're going.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
maybe they'll feel generous and maybe they'd share some of the costs with us. Keep your fingers crossed. Is that all, Mr. Horny?
That's it.
I have one request. Blue Sky Drive, the culverts need to be cleaned out somewhere around where you turn off the KOA. It's coming across, they're full, and when we're getting these heavy rains, it's not going through the culverts, it's just going in people's yards. Okay, new business, consent calendar. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Nah,
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Baycorp Hybrid Disability Program, Mr.
Yeah, VACORP has made a change this year. The disability program was with Standard, is that correct, Martha? They put out requests for proposals, received bids back in on the disability program, and have made a recommendation and a change to using Anthem. Therefore, each county associated with their disability program participation needs to adopt this amendment to move it over to the Anthem program. We have reviewed and recommend adoption of this participation agreement.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
nah,
The chair votes aye. Mount Rogers Planning District Commission appointment.
Yes, Ms. Collins received an email with the chairman being appointed as chairman of the Mount Rogers Planning District Commission. There is an opening for an additional seat from Witt County to be appointed to their board. And so we just present this for you all's consideration to look at adding an additional member to the board during this one-year term.
Okay. It's an honor to serve as their chairman for this upcoming year. Is any board member interested in serving on the commission? Meet once a month at 7 p.m. the first Thursday of the month.
I'll do it if it's 7 p.m.
Okay. You may want to make a motion for Mr. Vaught to serve on the Mount Rogers
I would
Planning
make
Commission.
that motion.
I'll second that.
That's awful quick.
We didn't want to give you a chance to back out.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So appointed. Okay, item D, 2020 budget, tax levy, advertisement. Mr. Bear.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what I have proposed before you there is the recommendation for the tax rates, with the tax rates being the same for calendar year 2019 for the fiscal year 2020 budget. Therefore, recommend advertisement of these tax rates. Keep in mind, once you advertise these rates, you cannot set the rates any higher without advertising again and holding another public hearing. You may set the rates at this rate or lower following the public hearing.
Okay, I entertain a motion to advertise the set rates as presented by the county administration.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item is recommended revenue and expenditure budget for advertisement. Mr. Bear?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, what I have presented to you all 2 weeks ago was a recommended budget. As indicated in the memo, the proposed budget totaled $83,254,595. It represents a 3.5% increase over the fiscal year 2018-19 approved budget. The school board portion of this budget totals $48,475,630 and represents a 1.8% over the fiscal year 2018-19 budget. Local operating funding for the school board budget is proposed to increase 3.4%, an amount of $445,908 to $13,545,908. The debt service portion of the school board budget totals $3,279,944, and that is in addition to the operating of the $13.5 million. And then I included with it the summaries. I emailed each to you all the department summaries of where we stand with the budget. It can be revised by you all for advertisement purposes. Obviously, once you've advertised, you can still change the budget up or down at that point in time. This is for informational purposes for advertising the budget.
Okay, entertain a motion to advertise the recommended budget from the county administrator.
I'd like a little bit more clarification on what you're asking for. What did you just say? If we advertise it, you can continue to work on the budget? We're not there. We're not ready yet.
Well, you could make changes, an amendment, or changes to the budget at your time of adoption. This is for general purposes. Until you adopt the budget, it can move up or down in the process. And it's not like the tax rates, which are set and cannot be adjusted up.
Well,
You can make changes right now to the budget on how you want to advertise it, and we'll advertise it accordingly.
I agree, I don't think we're ready for that yet.
and following up on what Mr. Hale said, I think we all agree that we don't wanna increase taxes. We wanna work, with the money that we've got and the money that's gonna be coming in, but I don't know that, I wanna be honest with the public, and I'm not ready to vote on the budget, and I'm not sure that's the number that I'm gonna be voting on. And I'd rather wait and give a clearer number to the public when we advertise. That's my opinion.
Mr. Barry, is there any kind of timeline that says we need to do it right now?
Well, first of all, your budget calendar establishes a timeline, but you can change your budget calendar. And that's why we have a short agenda, and that was to work out any of these differences and discussions today of what needs to go into it, what changes need to be made to it, and then we can, before the day's over, if we so like, decide to advertise that budget. If we need to recess and do it later, we can make changes to our schedule. We have, we have to have the budget adopted no later than June 30th, and amendments and appropriations set forth to do so.
Okay, well, let's just wait until after closed session and we go into the budget work session, and we can do it this afternoon or whenever we're at the next, we can recess or schedule another meeting to put it out there for advertisement. Okay, next time I'll entertain a motion to go in closed session or code section 2.2-3711A1 personnel employee review.
So moved.
To have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in closed session. Motion to come out of closed session. Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second come out of closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Lester, you want to read the certification?
Whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
Have a motion to adopt resolution.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 All right.
And the chair votes aye. Before we start into our budget work session, Mr. Barrett, anything else that needs to come before the board?
No, sir, do not have anything else.
Okay, we'll move into the budget work session. You sent out your revised budget the other day. You want to go over exactly the changes that you made?
Well, I guess, the numbers, that you've got, most of it is the, recommendations and things that have gone into the budget. I don't know if you all want to go through this thing line by line, department by department, meaning, going through there, or jump to those in particular ones, that, we need to look at and address.
You remember what day you sent that email on? I'm trying to find it.
They put it in the Dropbox on April
Okay.
12th.
I recommend you do the ones that we've had discussion about. There's no need going through the ones that are settled.
Yep. guess, we'll start with the primary ones, and we've got an interested audience in the back here on that one as well.
Mr. Barry, before you get started,
Yes, sir.
Scott's gone. I'd ask him, since it's a continuation on budget discussion, but since he's gone, I'll go ahead and read my disclosure just to cover myself. I, Brian Vaught, as a member of the Worth County Board of Supervisors, declare pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act that regarding this matter of budgetary discussion involving the Worth County Sheriff's Office, I have a personal interest because I'm a full-time employee of the Worth County Sheriff's Office, which may be affected by the matters to be discussed today, and I declare that I'm able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest, and also this discussion will affect 3 or more people.
I'll read my next. I, Ryan Lawson, as a member of the Worth County Board of Supervisors, declare pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act that regarding this matter of budget involving the Worth County Sheriff's Office, I have a personal interest because my husband is a full-time employee of the Worth County Sheriff's Office, which will be affected by the matters of the budget discussions today. And I declare that I am able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest.
And let me add an addendum to mine, because I forgot about my wife.
Got that on record, right?
Yeah. She's an employee of the Worth County School Board. If you can just add that in there, Martha.
Are you done?
Your turn.
I don't have any cousins or anything.
I, Gene Horney, as a member of the Worth County Board of Supervisors, declare pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act that regarding the matters of budget involving the Worth County School Board, I have a personal interest because I am a part-time employee of the Worth County School Board and my wife is a full-time employee, which will be affected by the matters discussed in our meeting today. And I declare that I am able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest.
Well, I'm not going to read the disclosure. My wife does work as a substitute teacher, but when she reaches that $5,000 threshold, then I'll read it. I doubt if she reaches that. Okay.
All right, the first thing, and obviously a point of discussion, is the 3102 department. The salary stipend that was requested by the sheriff. Shared information with you all. I know there was strong support from some, maybe not as much from others, and what I had included within the recommended budget was 50% of what the sheriff had requested for the supplements. So instead of topping out at $6,500 for the supplements, those were coming down to the $3,750 for the top end of the supplements. The impact of that to the county meant that the total amount paid by the county towards supplements for the sheriff's office, and this is not coming out of the police activity fund, totaled $59,716. I provided you all by the email on the 12th the proposed salary showing the increases to be proposed. Like I said, I talked with the sheriff about whether, discussion about PAF, about funded by the county, and in the past, this is something the county had not done at all, but felt like this was an emphasis of the board trying to provide supplementary increases in pay to the sheriff's office. So that was what was presented in the recommendation for the budget. If you wanted to go to the full amount that the sheriff had requested, we would basically just double that number and go up to about $129,000. That is coming out of the taxpayers' pockets to fund those increases. $120,000.
Well, any raise we give him, we're gonna come out of taxpayers' pocket.
Anything that is not through the PAF or not from the comp board increases, the comp board has provided a 3% increase, which is coming out of the state taxpayers' pockets currently.
So it's the 50% that you put in is not counting the 3%.
It included the 3%.
It did include,
Plus the stipend that the sheriff, 50% of the stipend that the sheriff requested.
but it's separate.
They're separate, yes.
Okay.
So, for 59,000, 129,000, you can fund the budget the way he wanted.
Yes.
You know, I wonder about that sometimes because I feel like we've been slack on giving the sheriff a raise in the years past, and here we are. I'm gonna vote for 129,000, I ain't gonna vote for 159.
Do you want to do those individually, or you want to make his presentation on all of them?
I would approach them individually.
Individually.
And that way we have guidance of how to put those things in there. That would be my opinion.
We're wasting daylight, let's put it on the table, deal with it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're right. Let's just put it out there. Either you do the recommendation, agree with the recommendation of the, recommendation for the sheriff, the 129,000. Brian?
For clarification, Mr. Chairman, you're saying go to the full stipend request
Yes,
of the
that's what
sheriff?
I'm asking.
When I ran for this seat, public safety and education was what I said I'd support. And, you know, I've sat there and watched the comp board not do what they should do. And I don't think with the amount of money we have in reserves and the amount of money we're losing every time somebody quits and goes somewhere else, I don't think it's asking too much, and I agree with Coy.
Charlie?
I agree with it. I also agree we need to look at additional revenue streams.
I agree
Right.
with it.
Well, you know where I stand on revenue streams, but I think we need to stop dealing with these individual issues and go for the overall picture of trying to advance the county and the amount of money we got coming in through expansion and growing business, so I'll vote for it.
Corey done said Gene.
I like the idea of the 50%. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I think y'all deserve every penny you get and probably more. It's worth everything. But you know, I thought it was a fair thing that if we took half of it out of the police activity fund, but if everybody else is in favor of it, I can support it.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Well, you know, everybody's in favor for it. I'm in favor for it. I've told everybody in a couple of years, taxes is going up to pay for it. So, everybody knows that.
Either that or we grow our tax base.
Well, I mean, I hope we grow our tax base, but if we don't get, industry or more revenue sources coming into the county in a couple of years, we just can't continue taking it out of the general fund, with no replacement in revenue.
Mr. Chairman, just one clarification, Mr. Bear. Looking down through here, and I don't wanna, one of the county-funded SROs that are listed doesn't look like you've included the stipend for him, and he would qualify.
It may not include it, and you're correct, there is one county-funded SRO, so if y'all want to include the stipend for the SRO positions.
I mean, if you're including it for the rest of them, you might as well include it for him.
What are you looking at this under, Chief?
My magic pace.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, so I can keep up.
It's on, it was attachment that Stephen,
Salary, yeah, no, I think you're
I,
right.
I've got 3 windows over here open, Gene, if I could
Lord,
give
I'm
you-
lucky to get one open, so don't tell me to open 3 of them.
It's the
It's
attachment.
almost like, there's one deputy that has got over 3 or 4 years' experience, whatever the $1,500 level was. 3 years, 4 years. There's one deputy that would be eligible for that also, and that is an oversight and should be included in there. So that'd be an additional $1,500 into that budget.
Jane,
and I, oh, go ahead.
did you find it?
I don't
It's
even know what I'm
Go to
in
the
now.
email, that Stephen sent us on April 12th. And it's the
Oh, I was
second.
looking at the stuff that was.
And
put
it's in
the
that,
second
and they also put it in our Dropbox.
Well, that's what I'm looking at, is one of them out of the Dropbox.
Detailed list, isn't it?
Of course, now I've got it in there and I can't get out of it.
And I just,
Mr.
and I just want to clarify, Stephen, you've not included anything for my position other than what the comp board
Yes,
provided.
that
Okay.
is correct. Yes, you're in compliance with what you indicated. Yours is not included in there.
Mr. Hale?
Yeah, I'd like for us to take the opportunity for the sheriff's department and all county employees to have a positive attitude toward growing the revenue of the county. And I'm gonna bring up, Chief, humor an old man and get these guys that are here and the ones that are not here to start stopping all these people with those damn red tags. Now, whether you, that's money. That is revenue for the county. They're not paying personal property tax. They may not have any insurance. And very likely, some of them, just with a stop and a warning ticket, they'll go take care of that problem. It angers me to see a brand-new vehicle that costs $50,000 and no scratch and no mud on it, running a red tag. So I really wish y'all would make an effort to help up that revenue.
Tax base, not revenue.
No, it's revenue.
But
When
tax revenues.
When they go by and start paying personal property tax, it's revenue.
I would just say not ticket revenue,
No,
tax revenue.
no, I don't think you get a lot out of writing one of those tickets, but, and maybe you don't have to write a ticket, just stop and explain that they could get a ticket. I understand there's one state trooper over in Floyd County that writes them all the time, and he gets convictions.
I do. I had some concern about some of them getting a 19% raise. But you know, after I got studying the letter, how much have you done without over the years? And that kind of worked on me. I said, I wouldn't do their job. You don't know whether somebody gonna shake your hand or kill you. Not me. I appreciate all you do. Thank you.
That's what I said, I mean,
Let's move along.
they go to a job that they can get shot every day.
Next department? Did you put a mile at what each department was requesting,
Do what? No.
the supplements to the,
No, that takes care of all the supplements for the sheriff's office right there.
I'm talking about the other departments, treasurer's office.
The treasurer's office, what we've got on it is the increased salaries for the, lower paid employees there. We have not used the same type of supplemental proposal that the sheriff's office has on his side. we were bringing up the lower paid employees on treasurer and commissioner, bringing those salaries up, and I have spoke with both of them about the proposed increases. And they were both pleased with what was being offered, to help fund the increases in those departments. The 3 employees that are in the $23,000, $24,000, $25,000 range are getting, proposed to get 13% increases. Everyone else is getting the state provided 3% increase. The 2 deputies on the treasurer's office, that the starting pay was down to $22,000 for them, are looking at getting an 18% increase up to the $26,250.
Let me ask you a question. How much is that 13%? How much money are we talking about there? $20,000 job.
Basically, they're getting a 3% increase, so you're looking at about $2,000 to $3,000 a person is what you're looking at.
3?
2,000 to 3,000, so you're looking at a total right here of maybe $20,000 for both parts, for the treasurer's office and commissioner revenue.
For clarification, you've already got that in your proposal.
It's already in
not
the
an
proposal.
increase.
Yes, yeah, that is in there.
Okay.
That was one of your all strong points of trying to take care of all of those that had salaries under the $30,000 range and bringing some of those up.
So
Now, the only other one that's getting a large increase is the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and his supplement is based off of the proposed agreement. Instead of funding the additional deputy Commonwealth's Attorney.
Well, that's something that I'd like to talk about is, do we do that? And I know it's gonna save us money in the short term, but next year, if the state happens, if we can get the state to take that position, and them pay for it, then there's no way you're gonna take that 10% back away from what you already gave.
I agree, and I've debated that back and forth. I talked to the Commonwealth's Attorney, because I told him that part of my recommendation is, always looking at what avenues we have to save taxpayers money, because anytime we're talking about providing supplements or whatever, it's not coming from the county, it's coming from the taxpayers. And, we discussed exactly what you said. If we paid for the position, if the state ever came in and picked up that position, then you're out of having to pay that additional amount of money. And it would be in the neighborhood of probably around $78,000, $79,000 if we did that. But at the same time, the comp board has not fulfilled its obligation in the past of meeting everyone we're supposed to have.
Doubt they'll ever do it.
So I don't know that they would step in and take it. So ultimately, I debated this one back and forth and decided it's probably less cost on the taxpayers in the long run to do the stipend or do the supplement to that office. But I will say, once you give that supplement, if something came in and they changed it, you're not going to you'll have a difficult time as a board taking that supplement back. So we can, it's your all's recommendation here, whichever way you want to go. If you would rather advertise it with an additional position, we can do that. And then we can always come back to the agreement, or we can advertise it with just the supplement of the 10% of everyone's salary.
I don't ever, excuse me, I don't think the state's ever gonna step up. They tried to pass it last year, and they found that the state police was doing a body camera pilot project. So the General Assembly put it on hold. Then when the state police said, we're not getting body cameras, they hurried up and passed it, put it on the locality. So I don't know why the state would ever step in. Now, you say you can't take that supplement back, you know, I think over the years with turnover, you know, if one deputy Commonwealth leaves,
You leave it at that.
you know, that's when you address that.
I never
Mike's got
thought
a
of
good,
it that way, but.
well, I mean, Mike's got a good staff, but you know, there's always somebody that's looking for something bigger and better, especially in that field.
They ain't been too good at keeping personnel down there
Yeah,
as far
I
as
mean, that's,
attorneys.
I want to go with what Mike has requested.
I agree. And I didn't think about what, Mr. Vaught, said, in the future, with turnover, we can,
You know, it's
if
a
something
situation that,
happens.
I mean, especially his entry-level staff for attorney work, that is not, it's not great pay. It's deserved, every bit of it's deserved, and I'm not speaking against it, I still come from the same point of just looking at it from taxpayers' dollars and trying to minimize our risk through that. And like, I ultimately decided to leave it like this, and if y'all are fine with that, we'll go ahead and advertise it in that manner. And we do have to enter into an agreement with him on that in lieu of providing a position. And so that'll be the only thing before the end of June 30th, we'll enter into an agreement.
And this is a year-to-year agreement, correct? He can come back next year and ask for the position. Okay, is anything, if that takes care of the budget, what we're gonna advertise, I entertain a motion.
Can we discuss the
Don't
school
rush
board?
along there too quick, big boy.
I wanted to discuss the school board if we,
Okay.
before
Okay.
we went further. I was looking at the numbers, Stephen, that you sent us in that, the April 12th email.
Yeah.
And I would really like to encourage everyone to look a little bit further into adding that teaching position back that they have requested into the budget. I just kind of want to see what everyone's thoughts were on that.
Well, you heard anything from Dr. Jeffries about them adding that position back out of their
No,
budget?
they have still been looking at it. I have expressed, obviously, what you all said, that position can help them in the process of their savings and everything else. And I strongly believe that they have enough money in their budget, with the increases we're giving, that they can fund that position with us giving the $450,000. I've talked with them typically at the end of each year, and our auditors make this comment, there's probably close to $300,000 worth of pre-ordered supplies that they get to go into the next year that our auditors have to pull out of the fiscal year to show that those were actually next year's expenses. I think they've got enough wiggle room. If they got that $300,000 and buying that at the end of the year, they can certainly find that enough for that position there in the process. So,
Now, which position are you talking about, the additional,
the additional teacher position that would
At
help
Speedwell.
eliminate, at Speedwell, would help eliminate a lot of the travel of the people.
they haven't talked to you about the
Joe, what's this one?
opportunity to hire a Spanish teacher?
Yeah, I had someone off the school board ask me for putting the Spanish teacher back in there.
What's the number, Stephen? What'd they ask for and what have we?
They asked for $611,000. We roughly have in there $450,000, I'm saying increase. They asked for $13,648,000 or something like that. We've got the 13 million, we've got $165,000 deduction off of that.
Well, part of this idea of promoting the county as a whole, I'd like for us to look at putting it back, to put 550 back in there so they can fill these two teaching positions. That's quality of education. If we, whatever reason, that they need more special ed, whether it's home life or drugs or whatever. Those are high-intensity positions that are hard to fill. And they've got that demand, plus I believe that that roving position they were talking about at Speedwell will help several schools and not just one. So I'd like to see us put that funding back at $550.
Well, I think they can come up with the budget they've got. I mean, $450-some thousand is a big increase. I know the salary increase is what they get. They're getting 500-some thousand from the state. And that's over $1 million increase in their budget in 1 year. And I just think they can keep the positions, but I think they can find the money in their budget to do it.
The original request was 611.
Let's round it off 500,000, let them find it.
I could go along with that.
I was hoping Joe would say that, just so I could say I agree with Joe.
You better be careful with agreeing with
Well,
me.
when
That
you're
could
done,
be-
Joe,
that
I've
could
been,
become
I've been
a
sit,
habit.
I've been sitting over here keeping records. When you're done, I'm gonna give you the tally sheet.
I like 500,000 more than 450,000, so if that's the number everyone will agree to. I feel better about that. 500.
Charlie,
I'd go with 500.
Gene,
I'm like you, I think they could probably find it in their budget, but if that's what everybody else wants, that's fine.
you got the majority.
I was gonna say, they got the majority, so.
I want to give a note, I might have to bring up Assistant County Administrator position
Go
again,
for it.
so.
Yeah, I make a motion, we resign.
I support that, actually.
All right, so school board, we will take that up to $500,000, basically cutting increasing from what we've got on here, roughly $50,000. So,
Be a big tax increase.
all right. The one that I will bring up just for discussion purposes, and Charlie's been involved with this, we have the library proposed at a cut on it. And we've got them currently at, we currently have them at $329,400, which is a decrease from the $336,000. And that is line item 7302. I recommend going ahead and advertising like this for our discussion purposes right now, but Charlie just attended their board meeting. Ms. Thomas spoke to me earlier. Grayson County had been behind on doing their half. Currently, their board is looking at coming up to meeting half of what's requested for the revenue budget, which means we can get by with this or possibly even less in the process. So for advertisement purposes, until we get all those numbers finalized with them, I would leave it at that. But we may have some savings. And Charlie, does that agree with what you heard from them the other day?
That's what I
And from what I understand, as long as the funding is equal for the regional library as a whole, we're okay. Just because we're cutting theirs, but they're making up what they've been short in a year, we shouldn't have any problems with the state on that side of it. So I just wanted to bring that up for information. I'd say leave it at what we've advertised right now. And as we get the final numbers from the library board, Ms. Thomas asked me to meet about it. What he's heard from the board of supervisors members that are on the library board from Grayson County, they are coming up to meeting 50% of the revenue over there.
Stephen, have we got a detailed budget yet from them?
I did get a detailed
Okay.
budget. Would you like a copy of it?
If you'll send that to
Yeah,
me.
I will send that to you.
I'd like it also.
Ms. Lawson says she would like to have it too.
I'll just send it to all of you. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, those were anything else you all want to bring up or discuss or have out there, I'll be glad to go over any of them. I think those were the primary concerns that we had in cuts that were proposed out there. Capital projects are in there as had been requested on it. The only other large increase, and I still recommend leaving it in there for advertising purposes, is the Mount Rogers Mental Health, which presented their whole calculation and formula, and most localities are trying to come up to that amount.
Well, there's one thing we hadn't discussed. Did you put the increase the jail was looking at?
That is a good one to look at.
I mean, they're looking at a $1.50 increase per day.
What is it now, Tim?
27 and a half?
Yeah, something like that. And the state's paying 14 something a day for state responsibility. And what the state don't pay, we're picking up.
What's the per diem now?
27 something per day per inmate. And on state responsible inmates, the state is not picking up but $14, something like that. And we make up the difference.
So they're talking about a $1.50 increase.
And I don't know if you got their letter, they're having a budget meeting at some point in time here in the near future. I think you said you couldn't be there, Stephen.
Yeah, I think they're doing it next week, if I remember correctly. Basically, I had added $50,000, just a little bit off of usage, a little bit off of gas. It's about a 5% increase they are proposing, which would be about a $70,000 increase off of $1.4 million. You want to add another 50,000 in there to be safe on the budget?
Yep. I think so. I don't know how we.
It's sort of surprising me that their per diem is at 27. But it's pretty efficient.
Well, used to be a lot cheaper than that.
Well, you used to buy a car for $700 too, but you can't anymore.
You piqued Coy's interest when you said that.
Coy can still provide a car for less than $700.
And-
Tim, do they look at other,
Guaranteed you get off the lot in it, Coy.
That's right.
do they look at other regional jails like Southwest? What's their per diem? I mean,
I think they're basically about the same. And some down in Northern Virginia and Eastern Virginia and Central Virginia is more.
Yeah, that's what, when I worked at Prince Edward, they were $26, and that was 10 years ago. Of course, they fed pretty good.
You know, they expanded down there and
they
they're,
go up there.
you know, they have a lot of space that's not used. I forget now how many,
You gotta
cell
fill
blocks
them,
they
you gotta
have.
fill them beds.
no. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, we used to have, Pulaski has always been, since I've been there, been first. We used to be second, as far as population, what we had at the regional jail. But now Carroll County has surpassed us, they have 300 and some.
That happened after I started looking at budget numbers. I tell everybody, release them on the Simmons if you can.
Well, you know, I think that if they actually start a drug court here in Wythe County, that's, most of the ones we've got down there are repeat offenders.
Well,
I mean,
and at the community corrections meeting, they handed out the numbers of people that they put on pretrial supervision, which keeps them out of jail. And, I mean, their caseload is, I mean, it's helping us out a lot, so.
You know, I think it, you know, these, you know, while I was down there, I worked circuit court for years, and, I mean, it's just a revolving door, one right after another, and come back in. And most of it was for drug-related offenses. I mean, this possession and distributing, but, I mean.
I think the Commonwealth Attorney wants to try to help in working on some of those things, alternative sentencing and things like that, because he understands, I mean, this is a huge chunk out of our budget every year.
Well, it is, and you got, and, you know, even though our population goes down, and if everybody's population goes down, you know, you still got that huge facility to operate and to maintain. And, you know, they're telling at the last meeting that we discussed, they're saying this is just the $1.50 is just going, it's nothing extra. This is what it's gonna cost to operate the jail in the next year. So, no, I'll let you know. I'll probably make it to the budget meeting next week, if nothing else comes up. Martha, Dean Lynch, the executive director of VACO's mother passed away. The county could send a sympathy card.
Was she still in Scott County?
She wasn't there, she had retired, but she had, I think she might have been living in Tennessee. Or she may have been still living in Scott County. I know, I was reading she was yesterday at the funeral home in Gate City. Okay, has anybody else got anything to bring for the board at this time?
I have a quick question. I'm not sure how much I can say outside of closed session, but we discussed one certain employee that we wanted to give an extra 4% to. Are we adding that in the budget?
We can add that
I
in.
think I believe we all agreed to that.
Yep. Wasting daylight.
What are you gonna do this thing?
I gotta get some farming done.
Yeah, before it rains again.
Yeah, don't say the R word.
It's gonna rain Thursday.
I guess, one question, we have talked before about the Virginia Industrial Advancement Alliance. We currently fund that through the JIDA, so that means the towns and both towns and the county are all jointly funding a percentage of that. We have indicated to the JIDA that we are flat funding on their amount. There has been some discussions about trying to provide some additional funding for the BIAA, which right now, everybody's been doing it off of a per capita basis. We all went up to $1.25 in the counties, except for Smith County, a year or 2 years ago, I guess it was. And that's when Washington County backed out of it to keep the organization up and running. They've been working on obtaining additional funding. The two cities had gone up to a higher amount. Of course, Mr. Lewis has been talking about trying to grow that department and provide some additional help. And one of the things talked about was trying to get up to $1.75.
Would that give him extra per,
That could give him some additional staff.
I think that's some of the best money we spend.
well, I know it is, and, you know, have you talked to the other county administrators and got their thoughts
have-
of it?
Right now, I do understand that Smith is proposing to go up maybe even $2 on their side in the process. I would still recommend $1.75 because Smith's had a couple of years of lagging behind at $1 from the others in the process. Carroll, Bland's already at $1.75 or $1.85. Grayson was looking at going up to the higher amount as well, but I haven't confirmed their amount, and I think Carroll was looking at going up, and I can confirm that amount with them. But I didn't know if you wanted to look at the two options. One would be trying to add that amount into the JIDA budget, or if we want to look at providing a funding level of that directly to the BIAA in the process.
Well, if we put it with the JIDA, will they have control of putting it somewhere else, or can we mandate that that's what it goes to?
That's what it's going for in the process.
Well, you know, if we do it through them, that's the way it should be done, in my opinion. To make sure it goes.
Yeah, you better put a tight string on it.
Make sure Bruce puts that in his letter.
Yeah,
That's
it
what,
is critical.
I agree. I mean, I think Josh is doing a tremendous job. I know we haven't landed anything. You know, and he's out there beating the bushes every day. I'd still like, you know, I requested a thing, you know, from David on industry expandment and how many jobs have been created over the past several years here in Wythe County.
Roughly, it's countywide would be about $14,500, adding the 50 cents. So we're just using 29,000. Of course, we do share part of that expense and stuff with the town, but we can add that amount, add $10,000, which would be about our share of the population, add that into the JIDA budget with that, if that's what you all would like to do.
I got something else, Bram, if you're done with that.
I will make certain everybody's okay with
I'm
that.
okay with that.
Yeah. Did you have a chance I laid that literature on your desk. You wasn't here the other week or last week about the complete count committees. Did you have a chance to look through
I
that?
have looked at it and saw some of that stuff laying there. We've not put anything together yet, but that is an area that we would like to work on, work jointly with the towns and everybody on getting, steps we can take to make certain everyone's accounted for in the census.
I mean, and the Census Bureau will help us setting all that stuff up. And, you know, it can benefit us in some ways and could hurt us in other ways, but, you know, I think we need to get a complete count of all the citizens in the county. And I hope everyone is, we ever put anything out on the tested app?
I think they did, I don't remember, but I do the VACO app about testing for the
NACO.
Wi-Fi speed, or NACO app, yes. I can check with them to make certain they have, and people can follow up on that. That's, you know, there's a lot of money been thrown at broadband, and that's one of the things I've talked about. That's part of the reason I want to get some time freed up from some of these other things. We need to make certain we're continuing to find all the grant applications we can to expand broadband. We're working currently with Shentel on the application for expansion down here in the 81 exit, between exit 77 and the town of Withville lines, on an application there through them for some expansion. And we've been talking to citizens about some of the areas they serve, trying to do some expansion.
Stephen, have you met with Shentel since we had that meeting? He said that broadband would be installed and operational this year, 19.
Yes, we have met. Yes.
So they're not waiting on us.
No, it's their grant application. They're the ones that put in the grant application. They are not waiting on us.
Well, have you had opportunity, I know it's been a quick time, but opportunity to see if they will be our partner in a Red Lakes
I
project?
have not talked to them about that yet.
Can that be a priority?
Stephen, you know, they talk about this last mile, you know, the governor's pushing that. What about the first mile? And let's get something down Blacklick. And I hate Scott's not here,
Yeah.
but, you know, there's a lot of people that live down that road.
There's a lot of areas like that in the county that are underserved, and that's what,
Well, it's not underserved, it's not served.
yeah, that's what this whole push is.
Well,
is-
I
is
think the
to
whole
get-
county is underserved. You take, as far as the FCC's standard, the whole county's underserved.
I mean, I just can't, that road right there, if they would start, you know, that would lead to, you know, the customer base that just starts down that road is huge. Because eventually you get to Stony Fork, I mean,
How far up Route 11 do they run?
I do not know.
Ron, this thing was, Shentel was county's initiative that asked for that meeting, and everything went much better than we thought it would go, didn't it? I mean, they just were ready to go with it right now.
Well, they had never looked at
The market's there.
They had never looked at the population that was down through there.
Right, and I think that's our job to call things to their attention where it can work.
I mean, I just, you know, that road, and of course, you know, Scott gives me a hard time about it, but it's, you know, he's got a point, and it's, I don't know what their business plan is, but you'd think they would be going after that. That's,
You know, in some counties, I guess Prince George is the only one I know of that's went totally wireless with a system, but they're narrow and they're a lone county and they're flat.
well, and that's one problem with down in Blacklick and Crawfish is you don't have the cell service, so you can't go, you know, you can't go totally cellular
Well,
and use
no.
their
Well, when you
4Gs.
when you got areas in the county that don't have cell phone service, I mean, you have to, in Ivanhoe, you have to stand out in the garage or go up on the hill and stand outside your
My
house
place, We'll never have
to
cell
talk
service.
on a cell phone.
Well, they turned that tower on speed when my phone rang one day. I about ran out of the road. I didn't know they turned it on.
Now, I think we need to look at, you know, over in the Ivanhoe area, seeing if, who is it, I guess, who was it in Speedboard? And turned that, was that, US Cellular?
Yeah, US Sailor's got a tower out 21 that covers speed.
We need one out 94, somewhere down there.
Certain areas, yeah.
I mean, you lose people. I was coming back, Stephen called me 3 times. It dropped the call 3 times till I got over Lots Gap, so.
Yeah, you're gonna drop it at about St. Paul Church, somewhere in that flat right there. It's just not gonna, yeah, not gonna work anymore.
Okay, if there's nothing else to
Go home.
come, huh, you ready to
Coy
go
and I are
home?
ready to leave.
Okay, nothing's, come forward the board at this time, we already,
You go advertise.
Let's wait here. I just wanna make certain what you all wanna do. You all,
Oh.
you've added about $60,000 in the supplements, $55,000 to the schools, $50,000 to correction and detention, and $10,000 for, JIDA. So, basically from what you've got, and I'm just using rough numbers here, you're up about $175,000. Do you all want to me to put those in and advertise those numbers? Do you all want to put those in and meet again, recess this week? How do you all want to do that?
I don't
I
think
don't
we
see
need,
the point to
Advertise
meet
about
again.
I think just advertise, put that in and advertise it,
Yeah.
I think everybody's satisfied, I think.
yeah.
Okay. I just want to make certain before you went through, you've set the advertisement for the other, so, and we will proceed with advertising this for the May
28.
May 14th, Board of Supervisors meeting for public hearing.
Do we need the advertisement and, do we need that in a motion?
I will go ahead and put it in a motion, sir.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? On the added school board, can we request that be used to add the 2 teacher positions back?
Tell that to them, yes.
And if they're not going to, they're not.
To add the 2,
Yeah.
so the Spanish teacher and the one there.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anything else, Mr. Bear?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Well, the only thing I will just give you, this was put in front of you, this is for informational purposes. This will be included with our budget advertisement, or not advertisement, but budget information. We are required to show a trial balance as of June 30th with our budget calculations. So what you've got is a trial balance, and that's what's in front of you, and it's a
This
color
one?
uniform, that's that handout. But basically, that gives you the general fund balance, it gives you the balance of the capital projects fund. Basically, it's the same thing, it's in your board package that Lori goes over and gives to you, but this is the accounting version of it for June 30th of last year.
Well, when they have them, when they have them put it out, put it in bigger print where people
Yeah.
can see it. Okay, nothing else, we are adjourned.